I don't think there's enough credit given to the idea that you're getting compensated well, you're becoming a millionaire because of the problems that you're inheriting, right? Because of we like to think about lifestyle, right? It's going to be beautiful and blue oceans and boats and airplanes, but you're also inheriting problems that the average person is not choosing to take on or doesn't want to take on or is not capable of taking on. And so you take on those problems and you're well compensated, your family can live the life of your dreams, but it's certainly a problem solving business. And somebody that's interested in getting started, I tell them, just get that in your mindset right away. Like, you're going to make a lot of money, you're going to grow personally, but you're going to become a better problem solver. And you should look forward to that.
Welcome to the Power Path Podcast, your new favorite podcast for short-term rentals, boutique hotels, and all things real estate. Enjoy the show in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Path Podcast, episode number 3. I'm your host, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, with my lovely co-host, Jeremy Wirtz. What's up, buddy? How are you this morning?
What's up, Kyle? I'm fantastic, man. It's another good day. Terrific Tuesday, as we like to call it up here.
Terrific Tuesday? Is that what you said?
Terrific Tuesday.
Oh, my God. I just started watching Landman. I don't know if you've seen that on Peacock.
No.
Landman, we're episode 1. He's like, today's my Monday. And then his ex-wife's like, no, today's Friday. And then his boss is like, it's actually your Wednesday. I was like, what freaking day is it? Like, I don't get it. And then you said Terrific Tuesday. I'm like, is it really Tuesday? I guess it is Tuesday. So it's technically like my Monday, though. Because like, I don't do much on Mondays.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you get
anyways, yeah. So anyways, we have an absolutely awesome guest today. John Crutchfield is a master in single-family real estate and wholesaling, and we have him on today. But before we bring him in, Jeremy, do you want to hit us with your dad joke of the week?
Absolutely. Why do astronomers hate vegetarian restaurants?
Why do what? Say that again.
Why do astronomers hate vegetarian restaurants?
Why do astronomers hate vegetarian restaurants? I don't know.
They need something meatier.
Oh my God. I was thinking like sea stars, something like, I don't know what I was thinking. But they need something meatier. We're going to have to get a better one than that. I don't know if I like that one. That one just kind of, I don't know if it's lame or if it's just I'm not there yet.
You're just not there yet, man. That's a great one.
Maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe when my kids get a little older. All right.
Run it by Allie. Let me know.
I'll tell Allie. You're going to text me that one because I'm going to forget about it.
All
right. So without further ado, we will bring in John. Let's see here. Welcome, Mr. John. How are you today?
What's going on, Kyle?
Oh, living the life, baby. Living the life.
But I do believe it's Dr. John, correct?
Oh, yeah, from a former life. That's true.
So we're carrying the doctor?
This is a teacher doctor. One of those, those teacher people.
Those teacher
people. Tell me more.
So I used to be a teacher. I grew up like most people grow up where you are told to go to school and get a good job. So I went to school and did the very best I could. And went to college. I'm a Florida State grad. It's a rough year to be a Florida State Seminole, but went to school and decided to get a job. And teaching was the one where you could be off on the holidays and you could be off in the summer. And I figured, hey, they'll always need teachers. So I did that. And then somebody said, hey, if you want to make more money, you want to get a promotion, right? So you got to go back to school, get a promotion. And I went back to school and started working for less per hour. Most people don't realize it, but your principal of your school actually works for less per hour because they're all there. They can't just go home. Like, they always got to be there. And so as a principal of school, somebody was like, well, you could probably make more money if you go back to school. And so I got that doctorate in education where I was training people on how to be good teachers and principals. So that's the world that I come from in the former life before I got into real estate investing.
That's crazy because that's like, it's really close to what Allie was doing. My wife.
Mm-hmm.
So Allie, well, she didn't get her doctorates, but she was teaching other teachers. And she did like 6 years, and she was like, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. There's no way.
Yeah. It's a act of service, that's for sure.
Yeah. What did you teach? Like before you went back to school and teaching other teachers, like what subjects were you good?
Math and social studies. I taught all kinds of stuff. I started teaching during Hurricane Katrina, so they pretty much needed us wherever. Wherever. So I started by teaching middle school math, and then they had an influx of people coming from New Orleans who had got relocated during the storm. So I started teaching social studies. I didn't even have a classroom that year. Like I had to be that teacher walking around pushing carts and telling people I didn't have a classroom because I had to earn my stripes.
Dang. Did you teach middle school or high school?
I taught middle school. I was a principal of a high school, but I taught middle school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What pushed you out?
I don't think anything pushed me out. I think it was more just a decision for lifestyle and family. That last year that I was a principal of a school, you're on the sideline every Friday night. You're writing checks to referees and handling, discipline issues, very political position. So I think that was the year my wife and I decided that I would go down a different trajectory. And, luckily met an elder at my church who was a real estate investor. And we just, really hit real estate investing really hard. So I got in using the 𝗏 method. Some of you have heard this idea that you buy, rehab, then you rent it out and refinance. And I did that heavily, as much as I could. And the rest is history. Now that's what I do for a living. I built a company based on that model.
I love it.
Did you always want to be a teacher growing up? Would you want to be growing up?
No, I think I wanted to be all the things that, everybody wants to be, right? I think I wanted to be like a fireman. I think I wanted to be a police officer. It's like, what didn't I want to be? A journalist at one point. All of these were jobs, though. I never imagined owning my own business, which is interesting. But I never imagined owning my own business. That was not something that was not something that I thought that I would be capable of doing. So I always like to tell that story because some people really probably don't realize that a lot of your teachers in your public schools, especially, are just teaching the kids what they know, right? Like I never in 10 years in education told a kid that they could own their own business. Never. Like, you ask them what they want to be when they grow up. You ask them, where they're going with their life, but it was always a job. Like, and the good jobs were the ones where you were a doctor or a lawyer or engineer or a tech person, but never did I talk to kids about owning their own business, which is, I still think that's crazy amazing because it's pretty unbelievable that I never talked to kids about that.
But what's crazy? All the things that you wanted to do as a kid, as you grew up, they all have one thing in common. So firefighter, police officer, teacher, a journalist even is serving the public.
Absolutely.
And now that's what you still do. You technically still serve the public, even in your own business and real estate.
Yeah, and that's definitely my heart, is serving. So absolutely thankful that you all guys have me on here and to get to talk to y'all.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. So I think it's a good transition into what you do today. So tell us a little bit of who you are today, what you do, just overall everything.
Yeah, so I'm what you call a full-time real estate investor. I like to think of myself as like a marketer first. So I look for good opportunities. I look for good deals. That's the core of my business. Is I like to look for stuff in good locations where I can either sell those deals to myself or sell those deals to other investors that are interested in buying. So very solution focused. People ask, what kind of deals do? I do all kinds of deals. I do a used car deal. I'll do a real estate deal. I'll do a multifamily project. If I can buy low and sell higher, that's my primary business. But these days, my favorite type of deal is still a single family house that I'm buying from somebody who's distressed or the property's distressed. I'm going to renovate the property, force appreciation on that property, and then go to the bank and refinance or sell that property to a homeowner. I probably do a little bit more of flipping directly to homeowners now than refine with banks, but that's my core deal that I love doing. Those are the ones that I get excited when I hear a property problem or a person problem. Those are the ones that excite me.
You said selling to yourself. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So for a long time, I didn't think this way, right? For a long time, I thought, let me watch social media and learn what everybody's doing and, copy what I hear people doing. So for a long time, I thought, hey, if you buy a whole bunch of rental properties and, you have a big portfolio, you have a high number of doors, that's going to make you rich, right? You're going to be wealthy because you have a huge door count. And I mean, today we still own hundreds of doors. I don't even say the number anymore because it's totally irrelevant how many doors you own if you're losing money every month. Ask me how I know. So nowadays, I've got several buddies in the business who like to talk about having your money kind of come in different time periods or different buckets. You all are hearing this all around, but absolutely nowadays, I like to focus on, that short-term bucket first. That bucket that's active income. A lot of people talk about quitting your job and, oh, I don't want to go back to work. Hey, that's easy to talk about. The truth is you need an active income if you're going to stay alive in this business. You need a way to take care of the bills. Shoot, I went grocery shopping this past weekend and I was shocked that, we went in and we did an estimate. You know how you look at the conveyor belt and you're like, let's see who's going to be closest here.
Yep.
I was like half off of what it was. So that tells you how long it's been since I've been in a grocery store. But that was bad because I was like, this is inflation is real. Like it's here. So long answer to your question. I look at myself as a marketer now. So what I'm really good at is negotiation, talking to sellers, like looking for problems and making offers on property. So since I know that that's my superpower, if I can't buy and hold the deal, or if I'm not going to buy and flip the deal, then I'm going to be the marketing company that sells that deal to somebody else. Most people call this wholesaling, right? So, a wholesaler is the guy who has the deal and they're selling it to, another investor. Well, what stops you from doing the same thing, but selling it to yourself? So now, instead of you making money at the end of the deal after 6 months of a flip headache, you actually make a wholesale fee right at the beginning because you're wholesaling it to yourself, right? So when closing happens, you wholesale it to yourself for 5 or 10K. You have that active income that you need on a monthly basis. You do 3-4 deals a month, and that's a pretty good active income, just marketing to yourself. I'm still my primary buyer. I mean, most of the stuff we put under contract, I'm the buyer. So I'm still the one that's closing the most of it. It's just one entity is marketing it to the other. And that helps pay for all of your like overhead on the marketing costs, like your virtual assistants or your software, stuff like that you need the active income to pay for it right off the bat just by wholesaling the deal to yourself.
Interesting. So how long have you been doing it? How long have you been in real estate?
This is my 7th year.
And what year do you think you like kind of caught on to the selling it to yourself thing?
Oh, no, that's been maybe in the last 12 months. So
okay.
Yeah. I for the first 6 years, I literally found something that worked and I just repeated it over and over again. So I bought, renovated, rented, and refinanced over and over again. And where it got really cool is when I would buy 30 homes at once or 60 homes at once, right? It still works. It's the same strategy. But I didn't sell anything. Like I didn't flip to anybody. I didn't sell anything at the height of the market, 2020, 2021. I didn't sell anything in all that time period. So you can imagine like sitting on a whole bunch of properties that you're managing and assets that you're holding, but really like not having an active income source, because it was all like kicking can down the road. Like I'm the king of, hey, my spreadsheet says I'm worth 10, 20, $30 million, right? But, you know, as an investor, I'm using my last 50K to get into the next deal. So yeah, it's been about a year of actively pursuing active income streams instead of kicking the can down the road. And so now we let the rentals kind of do their thing. Maybe in the future, if we last that long, maybe in the future they'll produce an income, but right now they're just kind of paying for themselves.
What? How many properties do you have now?
I don't say the number. It's 400 plus.
400 plus.
I don't even know the number right now because we buy and sell all the time.
I love it. Because that's a lot more than I remember.
I know. I love people like, oh man, how many properties? Like, look, what's my net income on those properties? Let's talk about that for a minute, right?
What is it? Yeah.
So let's talk about net income. Like if I looked at it, you know, some months I might clear 50K in net income. In some months I might lose 100. That's the reality when you have hundreds of doors, right? So you might ask, like, what would cause like that kind of swing in income? Well, in the summertime, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get tons of calls for maintenance on ACs and repairs on keeping people cool, right? In the wintertime, you're going to get tons of people who decide to move in because they want a place for Christmas, but in January you might be kicking them out, right? There's all kind of fluctuations when you have units of that kind. Oh, you could lose a staff person that could cost you 20 or 30 units down, which could be $30,000 or $40,000 swings.
I've never thought like that. I've never thought about that.
You know, if you're making 500K a month, let's use that number. A lot of us like to underwrite using spreadsheets and stuff like that, right? So if you're making 500K a month and we use a spreadsheet and we say, oh, my vacancy is going to be 10%. Well, what is that really? Like it's 50K, right? Or what if my people that don't pay their rent, like that's a whole nother type of vacancy, right? The people who you have to kick out. What if that's 3% or 2%? That's another 20K, right? So when you start looking at the numbers at scale, there can be pretty wide swings. You know, I used to be like, man, if I could keep my maintenance cost to 10% of my rent. Well, 10% of the rent when you scale up gets to be a pretty big number. And so, you know, the holding properties is changed my life, obviously. Like I live a life probably most people can't dream of. You know, I before I started my business, you know, if I had $3,000, it came from a student loan or something. You know, now if I have a $3,000 problem, like it's really bad. Like it would be a really bad day. So, you know, buying and holding is great because, hey, I've got hundreds of people every month who owe us money. You know, we get payments every day. But you also need an income stream that cash flows on a, you know, 30-day cycle, 60-day cycle at the most, because the rentals are a long-term game. You could make money on your rental property, and we, you know, I don't know if this direction we wanted to go, but you can make money on a rental property for 18, 24 months. And then in the 32nd month, you have a expense that wipes out the cash flow from all of those 2-3 years.
Been there.
Well, I could borrow, right? I could just borrow for all of my CapEx, right? I could plan for that. I'm going to replace all of that. Yeah. So plan for that, and then plan for the tenant that has a bad day with a spouse and wrecks your house, right? It's just, there's so many of these things that happen. And if you got a rental property or two and this happens to you, you probably get out of the business, right? But if you got at scale, you realize this is just how it happens. Like, this is how it works. This is the lifestyle we're in.
So what would you tell somebody like to prep for something like that? Like, if like knowing everything you know for the last 7 years, because this is gold, by the way. Yeah. But if you have something like you've been through it for 7 years, you've learned a crap ton. What would you tell somebody that's wanting to go down the single family road? Like, would you tell them like put half of it back, scale fast, buy portfolios? Like, what would you say?
I would tell them to get started. You know, I talk a lot about the problems these days because that's a CEO. Like, you're dealing with problems all day. Like, you know, the happy rah-rah moment that has worn off in the beginning of the business. You know, you're like, oh, the bank will loan me money. That's amazing. Or, ooh, like people are paying me rent. Like, now that's kind of expected that you're going to have a certain level of growth and opportunity. But somebody who's just getting in, I would tell them to get started. Like, and recognize that there's going to be problems. And that's why I don't think there's enough credit given to the idea that you're getting compensated well, you're becoming a millionaire because of the problems that you're inheriting, right? Because of you know, we like to think about lifestyle, right? It's going to be beautiful and blue oceans and boats and airplanes. But you're also inheriting problems that the average person is not choosing to take on or doesn't want to take on or is not capable of taking on. And so you take on those problems and you're well compensated. Your family can live the life of your dreams. But it's certainly a problem solving business. And somebody that's interested in getting started, I tell them, just get that in your mindset right away. Like, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to grow personally, but you're going to become a better problem solver. And you should look forward to that. I
absolutely love that. I remember being on a call, and there was this guy that was making like a couple of grand a month. He said, like, they were like, well, what is your goal? And he said, well, I want to net 100 grand a month. And he said, okay, are you sure? He said, well, yeah, like, I'm tired of this life that I live. And he said, are you sure you want to net 100 grand a month? Because he already, like, this guy that was asking the questions, he already knew like what kind of person this guy was, you know, like how he dealt with problems and stuff. And he said, do you know what happens when you make 1.2, like when you net over $1 million a year? You also bring $1 million a year problem, $1 million a year problem. And you have to deal with those. And those are a lot different problems than $24,000 a year problem. $24,000 a year problems, you're like, oh, the light bill's due. $1 million too, it's like, hey, loans are getting called. Hurricanes just destroyed my hotel. We've got to deal with FEMA. I'm raising money on this deal. Like, that's your $1 million problem. Like 30 ACs just went out at one time. That's $1 million problem. Not, hey, I forgot to pay the light bill because I'm too busy in my schedule. Or, you know, I didn't have the cash or whatever to pay the light bill. So, like, I love that you brought that up because a lot of people don't realize like what, and it's not a bad thing. I would say it's back to what you're saying. Like, just be prepared, like understand what you're walking into. And then one day when that happens, you look back and you're like, oh, hell, that was $1 million problem I just dealt with. Or
you become a totally different person. Like, you know, especially when, like, for me, I was what you call a high achiever, right? I'm going to go get a doctorate degree and I'm going to read I'm calling kids names at high school graduation, right? So that's idea,
pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, but like, and it's a great thing, great community service. But you have to understand, like, the person that's calling the names at the kids' graduation, it's the end of the world when something like you get a negative review on Google, right? Like, wait, people have been celebrating me my whole life, right? Like, you get the Principal of the Year award, right? So you're not going to have hundreds of doors and not get a negative review, right? It's a totally different person that you have to be like, okay, well, how am I going to handle this? Like, how do I handle this pressure or this comment, this stress? And in some ways, it kind of like toughens you up to like, this is what it actually takes to get to that level. And so I remember some of the conversations that I had early on with employees, you know, maintenance guys, construction workers. You know how this business is. It's like, man, it's like, I see you sweating and you're working so hard and you're trying to get this check from me, but you're lying in my face, right? And you haven't done anything. And I want to write you the check because I just want to believe you, right?
Yeah.
And you have to become a totally different person that's like, okay, what's the work that we agreed to? And is it done or not? And you don't get my money until I'm 100% satisfied, right? Totally different person than the school teacher or the principal that's like trying to give a kid a second chance because you want them to be successful, right? So
can you talk to us a little bit about your, I guess, your mindset journey and your shift from, the constant, get a good job, and, get better to now, you're CEO of this company. You have, how big's your team? Your internal team?
Yeah, I mean, let's say 5 people in-house and then 20 plus all over the place.
Yeah. So how did, can you talk to us a little bit about that mindset shift for you and how you went from one to the other and how you continue to, grow and build up your team?
Yeah. So I guess I will say that there were kind of 2 phases to this, because the person that got me into real estate or got me thinking that I could own my own business was very much a mom and pop landlord who owned 20 to 30 rentals and had built it alongside of a full-time job. And he'll tell you that when he sat down with me and kind of showed me his spreadsheet and what he was doing, he never thought I was going to quit my job and start buying properties, like have a bunch of prop. He thought I was going to do what he was doing, which is, keep your professional job and then have this portfolio on the side that pays off in 20 years. And now you've got a portfolio, right? So the first phase of the mindset shift really was like talking to these mom and pop landlords. Every time I would talk to an older guy who owned a few rentals, I was probably buying from them, or I was trying to lease up a property and I got to talk to them about the tenant. I would always ask them, is it worth getting in this business? And all of them said yes, right? They all said the business pays off over time. So that kind of motivated me to keep going and to keep like going further. So phase 1, I still have a ton of old guys that are in their late 60s, 70s that I bought from, that I call for advice and call for really the mental part of it, right? Like, how do you stay in the business and how do you like get through the rough patches? The phase 2 part has really been masterminds, like, Kyle and I were talking about offline before this started, getting in these groups where you've got people that are actively building their business and they're establishing systems and routines, hiring practices, all of that. That comes from masterminds and personal development. And so, if somebody's getting started, being in groups or being around people that are doing it, somebody that's further ahead, it's the gasoline to like really getting started. I think for my own personal mindset, it's still a daily process because, like Kyle was talking about, I mean, Kyle knows, we talk offline. Like I have some big accomplishments, but I have some big problems, right? And so we face big challenges every day. And if you don't have that network of people that at various times are either winning or dealing with challenges, you don't have anybody to talk to kind of tell yourself, hey, this is worth it. Keep going, keep pushing. And that's extremely valuable in a business like this.
100%. Awesome. I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Do you have, kind of leading into that, do you have a philosophy or a motto in life that you like to kind of follow?
Yeah. So the name of my company is 𝗥𝗲𝗹, right? We are primarily based in Dallas these days, but I've got a good sized team in Tupelo, Mississippi. And, the 𝗥𝗲𝗹 concept came from the period of time where people were walking around saying YOLO, right? You only live once. And they were showing the fancy cars and the houses and bling bling and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, YOLO, going on vacations, but what assets do you have paying for this stuff? Or are you just running up credit cards and defaulting, ruining your credit, all this kind of stuff? So I came up with this idea of grab the map, which really means like live your best life, but have assets to pay for it, right? Have things that are producing income that pay for the lifestyle you want to have. I joke a lot about going back to work, but my last year working, with $100,000 a year salary, I probably was bringing in $4,000 a month after taxes and what do you call it? Taxes and insurance and all these things they pull out of your check.
Security and FICA and all this stuff.
I mean, what does $4,000 a month really pay for today? Like I just told you about the groceries.
Grocery bill.
It'd be very hard to live off of that. And this is a business where, as an entrepreneur, not just the real estate business, but as an entrepreneur, where you can go out and create more opportunity for your family, more lifestyle just by your hustle. And instead of getting a Teacher of the Year award or a plaque that they put on your desk, you're actually financially benefiting from the extra effort that you're willing to put in. So I love the business. I think anybody that's interested in real estate and investing should be going as hard and getting in as deep as they can. Obviously, I think it's a lot of knowledge that you need, but more than the knowledge, you need to just start doing deals. Like start putting deals together, learning how the process works and what the problems are that you're going to run into, and becoming that person that can solve those challenges.
So when you talk about businesses, like tell me, I know you have the single family homes and all that. What businesses do you have? What all do you have going on?
Yeah, so my primary business today is still the holding company, right? We hold a bunch of rental properties and we manage those. So that's the primary business. We also manage a little bit for other people, right? That investors that have properties will manage for them. When the interest rate kind of spike happened, I pivoted a little bit to also doing work for other people. So we have a remodeling renovation company that we will do remodeling and renovations for other investors or just other homeowners. I would say it's probably 50-50 that will flip your house for you, right? And we just charge you. So that's an active income type of business. I also do some consulting. So, Grab the Map has an educational arm where we invite people into our community. We help them learn how to run the business. We help them connect with vendors and things that they'll need to run their business the correct way. So an education arm as well. And then, lately I think I've been looking at, ChatGPT is awesome, by the way, because lately what I've been doing is like really digging into what are the problems that the typical real estate investor has, right? And starting to position my marketing company like, hey, we are the solution to these problems, right? So if you're not getting enough leads, like I can sell you leads, right? If you're not getting enough inspiration, right, I can sell you coaching, right? If you're having money problems, right, I connect you to lending, right? So there's all of these problems that investors typically run into that we can help them solve if we create systems and bring on people to help do that. And so I do a lot of little things like that. I would say most of our income this year will just comes from the holding company.
So you have the holding company.
Yeah.
You have a wholesaling company.
Yep.
You have a management company for long-term rentals.
Yep.
You have mastermind.
Education. Yep. The consulting.
Grab the Map mastermind. And you have a construction company.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything else? I say, is there anything else? Like that's not enough.
Probably, but those are my functions right now.
Marketing company. You have a marketing company.
Yeah, we would say the marketing and the wholesale is the same. It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what a wholesaling company is. They're just marketing.
It's really interesting, and it's really like, so for short-term rentals, like we're big in the STRs, right? So when you start the first service company, it's management, and people are like, well, if I'm going to go to 100K a month, I don't want to work with 100 different clients, on managing these properties. People don't understand when they step into business is they get like that business flywheel. And so they start like vertically integrating all these other services companies around it, and you've mastered it. Like you're still going through it, but you've got 5. And so like we've talked about like trash companies and Of course, like Power Path is a big thing, and management, and like it's just crazy that you still have over 400 doors or whatever, 450 doors, and you still have the other service companies that are with it. And so
Yeah, they're all related to real estate. So all integrated with, like, they need to be real estate related. I don't really have any ventures that are like totally different.
Right. They're all but they're all related to your business specifically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that you service your own business while servicing somebody else's.
Like things that we have to be doing already that, we're doing them already. So why not help other people that are also trying to do the same stuff?
100%. Okay. So I know we got a few more minutes. So Jeremy, you want to kind of go through and
Yeah, we got four last questions for you here, and I got a hard stop in 5 minutes, so we'll bust through them here. What is your superpower?
Good question. Negotiation, I like that. Thinking creatively, I like that. So some combination of like helping people solve problems in an outside of the box type of way. Right? Something like that is what I would say is my superpower.
Awesome.
If a real problem solver.
What's that, Kyle?
A real problem solver.
A real problem solver. That's right. If you could have a real superpower, what would it be?
If I could have a real superpower, man, yeah. I like the invisibility cloak. I'm an introvert by heart. I like spending time alone and by myself. In rooms of crowded people, it takes energy to be in those spaces. So if I could put on an invisibility cloak and just be a fly on the wall, I would do that.
And you spoke in front of 300 people.
I know.
The day I met you.
I know. It's
He's wearing his invisibility cloak.
I had a teacher, my first year as a principal of a school. I had a teacher. I would walk down the halls, as the principal, checking on my teachers, right? And checking on the kids, and I wouldn't say anything. And I would just walk down the halls and I would be taking notes, and then I would put a little note in a teacher's box if they did something wrong or if they did something right. Like I would give them a note. And this old lady, Miss Smith, she pulled me to the side and she was like, "You better stop." She was like, "You need to talk to people or nobody's gonna listen to you." She was like, "They hired you to run this school, so you better talk to people."
That is
funny. So now I know, like, the extrovertedness is a requirement of the job, but it does take energy for somebody that's a natural introvert.
You better stop.
Yeah, she said, "You better stop." I still remember that.
I'm gonna get you that. I still got to send you a poster, and I'm just gonna put "You better stop."
That's funny.
Awesome. What's one purchase under $100 you've made in the last year that has most influenced your life or you've benefited from?
Oh man, like I buy books all the time, so I'm like sitting here with this book that probably cost me $20. If anybody ever mentions a book to me, like it's probably ordered before they finish naming the book, because these can, like, for $20, if you just act on one thing in the book, it becomes worth every penny. And I also can give them away to other people to hopefully inspire the same thing. So, this book, Relentless Solution Focus, actually, Kyle, I recommend this one to you as well. This is like, hey, how do you deal with problems and how do you stay solution focused? Basically, how do you take problems and break them down and like focus on fixing them instead of focusing on complaining about them? That's a good book. But
Relentless. What was that? Relentless Solution Focus.
Yeah. Solution. This is Dr. Jason Selk here. So this was a good one. It was a recommendation from one of my buddies in the investor field.
This isn't. Sorry, go ahead,
Kyle. Well, when this launches, we'll throw a link in the show notes to purchase the book.
Yeah. This isn't the last question, but it is that I had for you. But I'm just curious, what's your favorite book that you've read?
Yeah, so my favorite one right now is probably Atomic Habits. I think we all have these areas in our life where we want to get better, but the person that we want to be and the person that we are is like there's a people, this big word that I just learned, cognitive dissonance, right? So we want to be this healthy person that's, slim and trim, and then we want to be this rich person that has, a Rolex and can go on vacation every day. But our habits don't always line up with that person, right? It's like for me, I see a direct correlation to the number of sellers I talk to on a daily basis and the amount of business I'm doing, right? The number of offers that I'm making, right? If I'm not making offers, I'm not going to get deals, right? And so Atomic Habits really helps to set up systems of behavior where it makes it easier to do the stuff that you want to do and harder to do the stuff that you shouldn't be doing. And so that's a really good one that I pretty much read it once or twice every year and try to implement it again because it's good.
Yeah.
I wrote that one down too, so we'll put that in there.
You haven't read that one, Kyle?
I haven't read that one, no.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Atomic Habit.
Yeah. Classic.
All right.
Last one, and then I know you got a jet. What's one thing you have splurged on in the last year? Can be anything.
Oh man, splurge.
That grocery bill.
I'm not really splurging right now, that's for sure. The cool thing about investing is I've gotten to do some cool stuff for my family because I'm an investor. So last year around this time, Javier Anojo, one of my investor buddies, he invited us to Mexico to speak to his group, and I got to take my whole family. So I got to take my wife and my kids to Mexico. My wife, my daughter and my son are in an immersion program for Spanish, so they're learning Spanish half of every school day. So getting to take them to Mexico and authentically experience Mexico. That was a splurge. I think, Javier paid for it, but
that's still cool.
I guess I could have used the money for something else. So that was a good one.
But that's pretty cool because if you didn't have them in school learning Spanish and you went to Mexico, you would have probably said, God, I wish they knew. We're going to have to put you guys in Spanish lessons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now that you did that ahead of time and then you could experience it, what did they think?
They had a great time, and the memories that they have are amazing. My son just this past weekend remembered something from the trip in Mexico that of course, we would never remember as adults. But his experience was I remember that. I will say this, Jeremy, though. I really like the Tesla trucks right now. Really.
Why?
Because they drive themselves, and I'm a contrarian, so I like things that are awkward or different that most people don't like.
Okay.
I think Elon Musk is brilliant. So
I do agree with that.
You argue that.
There's no argument there.
But if you ask me something that I like that I probably will never buy because it's totally outside of my personality, is the Tesla truck.
Okay. All right. I got you there.
Outside of mine too.
And look, I got to tell you, so many of my friends have bought them. It's I think I got 4 or 5 friends that have them, and they're like, John, just buy the darn truck. And I'm like, I can't do it.
That's crazy.
I've driven them. I've had them self-drive me around. I'm just like, this is too cool.
That is crazy.
Have you read Elon's autobiography?
No, not yet. Is it good?
I haven't read it. It's on my list. I have a list of probably 200 books, but or it's either biography or autobiography. But I've heard from people that have read it that it is good. So, but Dr. John Crutchfield, we appreciate your time. I know you do have to jet, so we want to be respectful of that. And where can everybody follow you, find you, reach out to you?
Yeah, so I am on social media pretty much everywhere at 𝗏𝗏. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. Jonathan Crutchfield is my name, so you can find me there. Also, 𝗏𝗏𝗏.com. So you can find me all over the internet if you just search 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Thank you guys for everything you're doing.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time today. And absolutely go follow John and everything he's doing. And if you got any questions about single family homes, flips, wholesaling, that's the guy. So, John, we appreciate you. Thank you for your time. And with that, Jeremy, you want to take us away?
yeah, well, for Power Path podcast, we will catch you next week.
All right.
Yo.
Talk to you later. Bye.